I'm going to tell you a little bit about Vanessa. She's a retired lieutenant colonel. She's born in Victoria. She's got such a long resume here. She's done so many things. She's helped Governor Abbott. She's been appointed to the cardiovascular disease and stroke prevention for the Texas Medical Board. She's married, have 2 wonderful children. Her 26 years of honorable service in the U.S. Army included enlisted soldier from 87 to 91. She was in the 522nd Military Intelligence Battalion. Once her successful 4-year tour ended, she decided to become an Army officer and enrolled in Sam Houston State University, Army ROTC. Vanessa joined the Army Reserves and served as military police officer for the 91st Military Police. While assigned as a U.S. Army Reserve MP, Vanessa simultaneously worked as a full-time SHSU student and worked a full-time job as a correctional officer for the Ellis unit. And I know she dealt with a lot of people there. Anyway, Vanessa graduated from there with a bachelor degree in political science, and she has a minor in military science. In '94, she reported to Fort Huachuca officer training and went back to Fort Hood. And I know her sister's also serves in the military, and I think maybe she'd be up for a promotion. Vanessa will tell you about that. She grew up in Victoria, and after her promotion to major, Vanessa later returned to college and serving in the U.S. Army. She wrote a self-help book about Christian decision-making called Decision Precision Vision, which is available for purchase on Amazon and is available for a check in the Victoria Public Library if you want to go in and check that book out. After 26 years of honorable service to the nation, Vanessa retired from the U.S. Army in 2013. And then she became involved in the 27th Congressional District, and later in 2016 helped Ted Cruz serving as the field director for South Central Region in 2018 midterm election. So she helped Ted Cruz put him over the top. Served as a chair for Precinct 21 and currently is county and state delegate. Vanessa is currently the district director of District 18 for the Texas Federation of Republican Women. She owes her life success to the faith in Jesus Christ and Savior. Vanessa continues to keep busy, helps her 94-year-old mom, who also lives in Victoria. She also continues to volunteer and does very many nonprofit charitable services. Warriors Weekend, VFW, CASA, Victoria Business Coalition, and she does a lot of student mentoring. She is married to a fellow Texan and U.S. Army veteran, Jason O. Callaway, who is a certified high school football coach and teacher. Vanessa and Jason have been married for over 23 years and have 2 wonderful sons. Eric, who is currently junior and track athlete majoring in computer science technology and engineering at Sam Houston State University, and Edward Callaway, a junior high school student, now 14 years old. And with that, I will give you Vanessa Hicks-Callaway. I tried to hit the high points with you. You've done a lot with your life.
Well, good evening, everyone. Russell, I want to thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, sir. Again, I'm Lieutenant Colonel retired United States Army Vanessa Hicks-Callaway, And I first and foremost, I want to give my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory for allowing me to even be here this evening with all of you. I only have 10 minutes. Who's our timekeeper? I want to make sure I say 10:15. Okay, thank you, my sister. Here's the thing. I also would like to acknowledge my husband right now. He is in Cold Spring, Texas. My mother-in-law, Jason's mom, passed away in November. And she lived in Cold Spring, Texas, and he's there now handling the estate. His heart is with me. I am sorry he's not here tonight, but he is very busy, but he's also very supportive of what I'm trying to do. I'd also like to recognize veterans or individuals currently serving in the armed forces. Can you wave at me out there? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give these veterans. Thank you so much for your service to this great nation. I also want to recognize first responders. If you're a first responder, EMS, police officer, firefighter, can you wave your hand and get some recognition? I have much love for first responders. I'll tell you a quick story real quick. When I was in Germany, I was stationed there, I was a captain at the time. My son, it was time for him to put his toys away. I said, okay, Eric, put your toys away. He threw his teddy bear at me. And some of you that were at the first responder luncheon a couple of months ago may have heard me share this story, and it definitely ties into why I'm doing what I'm doing. So bear with me very, very quickly. So my son threw the teddy bear at me, and I said, okay, Eric, we have to go to jail for kids. Jail for kids. So we stepped into the MP station, and this first responder came up, and I said, excuse me, my son threw a teddy bear. He needs to go to jail for kids. And the military police officer was directly into his role to help me out. My husband was working a defense contractor job in Bosnia at the time, so it was just me and Eric. And so the officer said, okay, son, you are in big trouble, and you're going to have to go to jail. It was just perfect. It was almost like we rehearsed it. And so there Eric was, he's in tears, and I said, well, Eric, you know what? I hope they take care of you here. And so the officer was walking away with him, and I thought, okay, this has gone on far enough. And I said, excuse me, officer, but if my son apologizes, can he get a second chance? And so the officer got down on one knee, and he said, son, will you apologize to your mom? If you do, you get a second chance. And so Eric apologized, and ladies and gentlemen, just like Russell said, my son is now a successful 20-year-old junior attending San Jose State University, majoring in computer science engineering. So first responders, good on you. You helped shape my son. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me share that quick story with you. And the reason I'm here tonight, you've heard a little bit about my background. I'll touch a little bit more on that very briefly. But I truly believe, ladies and gentlemen, of Calhoun County, I believe that I am the right choice at the right time for the right future for District 30. I truly believe that. And so what I'd like to do is go into a little more detail and share with you why I believe that. I'm the right choice at the right time for the right future for District 30. You have my newsletter that's floating around. I touch on it a little bit in there. But I want to start by letting you all know why I believe I am the right choice. What the 30th needs, I believe, and I am from Victoria, Texas, born and raised, went to Victoria High School, just like Russell said, so I've been a part of this district a very long time. I believe that we need leadership that is bold, that is new, and that is ready to hit the ground running. We are not only looking at a new year, we are looking at a new decade. So I am not here tonight to talk to you about the past. I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to you about our future, which is something that we all need to be extremely concerned about. Because I don't need to tell you the talking points. We all know what's going on in the state of Texas and how desperately the left wants it. And so I am convinced if we put the right leadership in place, someone that is aggressive, I can help secure some of the rights that you all are also very concerned about. For example, the right to have freedom of religion in this country. Make no mistake, I am an unashamed believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I believe that everyone has the right to freely worship as they please, but so do I. And I do not believe that the Christians should be restricted only to the church house to worship. We should be able to worship in the public square. And right now, because of social issues, alternative lifestyle type issues, the Christians are being pushed and pushed and pushed more and more. If you make me your representative, the freedom of religion type legislation, I will always support. There's no doubt about that. So freedom of religion. The other thing I want to share with you about is my belief in the Second Amendment. And I believe it's the 23rd part of the Texas Constitution. We have the right of self-defense in the United States of America. From a state perspective, I believe that Texans, we are not only Americans, we are super Americans. And those in the 30th district, you guys, we are super Americans. And guess what? We have the right of self-defense. And so I do not support red flag laws. I never will. It's too ambiguous. It's too dangerous. It's too risky. So any legislation, any committees, any talking groups, any of that that's trying to push legislation, talking about mental health and all of that, I do not support that. I don't. The reason why is because the Second Amendment is clear. Congress, we are not supposed to infringe our right to keep and bear arms. And if they come up with these red flag laws, that's exactly what that does. It is an infringement. So if you make me your representative, rest assured, I will protect your responsible gun ownership rights. The next thing is, as far as me being the right choice, I am a servant leader. I've served in the military, you know that. I want to serve you, not be served. And so I work very hard to do that. I also want to let you all know, when I worked for the 27th Congressional District, I worked at the federal level. When Hurricane Harvey hit, I was working for the congressional office. I was in the trenches, on the ground. I went to the Emergency Operating Center where Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was there with Senator Colcourt. I was there also, representing the congressman's office. I know how difficult that was for our district. So I was involved in that process. So if you make me your representative, I get it. I understand how important it is that we continue our recovery after Hurricane Harvey. But here's what I want to push for. Absolute accountability of the time. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the money that's pouring into the 30th for us to rebuild after Hurricane Harvey, we have got to exploit that money. We have got to make the 30th better than it's ever been, because that money is going to go away. It's not always going to be with us. So we have to hold our leadership accountable and make sure that they're spending every dime in the manner in which it should be spent. We've got to exploit it. This is our chance to make the 30th better than it's ever been. You tell me your representative, I'll be watching every dime. It's your money. You're the taxpayers. I'll be a good steward of that money and make sure that we do what we're supposed to do. As far as public education funding reform, I know that the 86th legislature, I agree, they did a great job with public education funding. I support that. However, I got a personal phone call from an individual that worked as an administrator. He was a counselor. He said, Vanessa, they forgot about me. I did not get a raise. To me, that's not right. What we should do is, here's my idea. I do not agree with pre-K all day. I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with pre-K all day. It's not a good use of your taxpayers' dollars. The pre-K all day funding should have been shifted over to make sure that all public education professionals got some sort of an increase in pay. What pre-K all day is, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, and I'm a mom, it's a glorified daycare. We don't need to be paying for someone's daycare. So if you make me your representative, I will be pushing to try to shift that money to give everybody a pay raise. My son is a special needs child. He has ADHD and ODD. We do not medicate. The kid's brilliant. However, it takes additional professionals to get in there and manage the Edwards of the world, and they deserve a pay increase. So I want to fight for that. I want to talk briefly also on the right to life. Am I doing okay on time? Okay, all right. The right to life, ladies and gentlemen, and I said this at my kickoff campaign. Hello, darling. So glad you made it. I said this at the kickoff campaign. The right to life is a very significant personal issue for me. You make me your representative, the right to life would be a priority for me, absolutely. A lot of good things came out of the '86 legislature, I agree with that, but more needs to be done. The African-American community, right now, we are overrepresented on the abortion rolls. We only make up 12% of the population, and 3% of us is of childbearing age. However, we account for more than 30% of all of the abortions in America. It is a genocide in the African-American community. Right now, they are pushing for the Down syndrome children. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with that. That's been in the news, to stop aborting Down syndrome children. We need to look at that for African-American children. Don't get me wrong, all children. All children deserve the right to life and deserve to live, because that's what the founding fathers said in that Declaration of Independence, that we were supposed to have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That includes the unborn. But if we don't do something about it right now, it's going to affect our economy. It's already affecting our military, because the next generation that's supposed to take over in those roles is being significantly affected. I think the Supreme Court, the current leadership, everybody should be ashamed, because we are basically doing away with our future doctors, our future lawyers, our future generals, our future legislators. It's not right. So you make me your representative. I will be a strong proponent for the right to life. I'm going to talk a little bit about health care. I know that the left is constantly talking about health care. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not our responsibility to provide health care for everyone in the United States. We simply cannot afford it. When you look at our deficit, when you look at our debt, it's impossible. I'm altruistic. I would love to be able to take care of everybody, but we just can't do it. I want to be a good steward of your taxpayers' dollars. I will not use that money if you make me your representative in any way, shape, form, or fashion to take care of somebody's health care. It's just not right. However, I do have a recommendation. It was Ben Carson, the HUD secretary. He came up with the concept of healthcare savings plans, where at birth, individuals, you start saving up money so that when you enter into that phase of life where you need additional medical maintenance, the dollars are already there. And I believe that we, in the 30th, remember, we're super Americans. We are individually responsible if we focus on that. And remember, I'm talking about the next decade or the future. If we start now, we can make sure that the funding is available for us to take care of ourselves. Like Connie said, listen to your body. Go get your medical checkup so that you don't turn that medical situation into a catastrophic situation that's going to cost you more money. We have got to start doing more on our own. I believe in limited government, limited regulations, all of that, which means that we individually have to take care of our own finances. Let me touch on that very briefly. Under the Trump administration, I'm a big fan of the Trump administration and Trump economics. Big fan. African Americans' lowest unemployment rate since they started recording it. The same for other minority groups and for women. We are in a great time right now, but ladies and gentlemen, of the 30th, we need to be investing that money. We need to be saving that money, because guess what? It's not always going to be there. So that as a servant leader, if you make me your representative, I'll be encouraging that kind of mindset. We don't want the government's help. We want the government to make sure that they take care of the solar monies of the world. We don't need the government to take care of everything else for us. That's what we need the federal government to do. So the other thing I want to talk about, I understand that I have a whole lot more to learn about some of your concerns with coastal issues, etc. I've just been made aware that on January the 22nd at the University of Houston, Victoria, there's going to be a conference, the San Antonio Bay is holding a conference. I will be there to learn as much as I can about your coastal concerns and issues. But I will say this, for the 30th, for Calhoun County, it's an excellent money-making opportunity. Obviously, the ports, Matagorda Bay, all of that, we have to keep it lucrative. We have to make it a priority. And if you make me your representative, I will do that, most definitely. And finally, I want to end with this. I want to talk about partnering with universities. I'm a big believer in higher education. That really is the key. That was my key. Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up poor. I didn't have a dad around. It's a typical story. No dad around, we were on welfare. The one thing my mother instilled in me was education. And so I will always be a big believer in education. Pay those teachers, pay those administrators, hold them accountable with STAR tests, etc. However, don't use the STAR test to be a teacher over the head. Use the STAR test to pat them on the back and give them some additional funding. So what I'd like to do is make sure that we're constantly involved with university leadership, also with local leadership, working together to make sure we're taking care of our schools, taking care of funding, even at the university level. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I have gone through a lot of information. I hope I have convinced you to let you know that I truly believe that I am the right choice at the right time. We are now facing a new decade for the right future, that mindset of individual responsibility. I believe I am that person. So I'm asking you tonight for your vote. I'm also asking you tonight for you to help me with my campaign. Campaigns aren't free. I've got my newsletter floating around. If you've heard something tonight that you like and you feel like I can be that candidate for you, I would be honored to do so. At this time, I'll turn it over to Connie and open it up for any questions. Russell, excuse me.
Like to ask Vanessa?
I did, but I forgot.
Y'all have any questions? Go ahead.
Mental health.
I've been a paramedic for about 14 years, so I'm very well versed in the healthcare industry, how things work behind the scenes. One concern I have, and something worth looking into, is why is it when a patient goes up to, say, a clinic or any other healthcare facility, wants to get an x-ray done, that x-ray could be $100 to $150. Cash payout, $100 to $150. But if it's submitted to insurance, it can be anywhere between $500 and $800 for the same x-ray, and insurance pays out that almost $500 to $800. And maybe, $40, $50 out of pocket. It's worth wondering, because in the same situation, if someone did that at a gas station, charged one person $3 a gallon, another person charged $9 a gallon, just because they have insurance, wouldn't that be almost criminal? I just think that a lot of reason that our healthcare is so expensive is because, we have this mentality of, we're going to go screw the insurance companies, and they're forced to raise their insurance prices.
Right, you brought up a very, very good point. And like Russell explained, I was appointed by Governor Abbott for the Texas Medical Board, and then before that, for the Cardiovascular Council for Disease and Stroke Prevention. And I will let you know that the Texas Medical Board is aware of some of these charging practices. There's not a whole lot that can be done. However, one of the things I did learn from my experience with the board is that as the patient, you have got to read everything that they're putting in front of you. And if they are telling you to go outside of your network to get something done, that's when you need to start questioning them and say, no, I'm not going outside of network. It's going to cost more money. So the more we educate ourselves in the 30th, I think the better off we're going to be, because those prices, I don't have a lot of faith. Those prices are going to continue to go up. However, we keep ourselves healthy and we read the fine print. We say, no, you're going to treat me somewhat within the network. That's my response to that very good point you just made to me. Thank you. Yes, sir. Hey.
Jeannie Morrison turned down the TERP, Texas Emission Reduction Program money in Victoria County, which was non-attainment for years. And I never could figure, why did they do that? I mean, if anything, it needs to move down here to Calhoun County, where we've got all these petrochemical plants, just like Texas City, Pasadena, and everything up on the Galveston, Houston end. And I don't know how we can get some money directed down here, but I've been very successful as an economic engine for this community to tens of millions of dollars. And I don't do that. I subcontracted to machine shops here. My objective is to keep that welder, that machinist, and the engineers working for us. And that's big time money there. And I'd like to get with you on that in question.
Yes, I would love to. But I'm certainly not going to try to speak for Jeannie Morrison, but I will say this. If you make me your representative, I understand that being business friendly is a way to operate in the area. Now, it could be that you want limited government also. A lot of times, if you accept that money, you accept a lot of strings attached.
Oh, yeah, there's
and so I would love to find a balance. Yeah. Yes, sir, and have that discussion. Very good point.
Jim Ward, you had a question?
When I was teaching, towards the end of the teaching career, it seemed like there was more and more emphasis on university and college things like that. What's your stand on the vocational training? Because it seems like we need a lot of that, because a lot of students that don't want to go to college, they don't want to go, and they almost feel impressed to do, they feel pressured to do that. Whereas they would prefer to do something that would be like vocational training, because when you start talking about the income, okay, I had a couple of students that graduated as engineers from college. They're making $80,000, $90,000 a year when they started. But if you're say a plumber, your welder, some of these others, those jobs pay very well too. And why we don't stress this more, I don't understand.
Jim, that's an excellent point. When I worked with the Victoria Education Business Coalition and as a mentor in the schools, also with the Economic Development Council, we all came together and came up with some initiatives to try to make sure that VISD was introducing partnerships with like Caterpillar and other businesses within Victoria, Texas, to push that idea into the mainstream as far as education is concerned, because you're absolutely right. Not everyone is going to be a doctor or a lawyer. And when you look at the individual responsibility that I'm pushing for in the 30th, we've got to make sure our kids are educated, if not at the collegiate level, definitely within the vocational, so that they can earn an income for themselves, so that they are not ever dependent upon the government. So absolutely, yes, there are already initiatives and programs out there to guide these kids into those vocational professions, like being plumbers, and trust me, I had to have some plumbing done recently. It's unfortunate they do very well, and to do welding. And also, they're looking at females also getting involved in the welding industry as well. So I believe if we focus on it and if we push it, we can raise our kids to move in that direction, higher education or vocational. You tell them they're going to do something. You're either going to go in the military, you're either going to go to vocational school, or you're going to go to higher education. We've got to route these kids in those directions, absolutely, because we want to be independent. Sir?
Can I follow up on that? I'm with American Legion here. We give 3 $1,000 scholarships a year to the high school graduates, and we don't care if they go to university or trade school, and we tell them, if you're going to trade school, you still got the scholarship.
Wow, that is
And other organizations should be doing that.
We're losing carpenters, we're losing drywallers, framers, all those are being lost. And that's a trade that needs to be brought back up.
Absolutely, and so there are business owners I know in this room right now, there are parents in this room right now. We don't need a state solution for that. We don't need the government to push that.
Right.
We can do that on our own initiatives, like this gentleman here with the American Legion. He's saying, you know what, you still get the money. We're going to take care of you, so we need more of that mindset. So absolutely, I'm all for that.
You know, it's one thing, I'm sorry, I don't have a voice, but like when I was growing up, a really good plumber, anybody that didn't go to college to do what they were doing, they were as well respected because they were good at what they did as the doctors and the lawyers. They were respected within the community because what they did didn't require that higher education, but we sure needed them to make everything go smooth in our community. And that got lost somehow. And somehow or another, it came down to every kid needs to go to college. Every kid needs to go to college. And I don't agree with that. Some kids, bless their hearts, they try as much as they can, but they're really just not college material. They'd do much better off and feel much more successful if they were going someplace that was more suited for them.
Absolutely, you make a very good point. I just want to add this in real quick. Look at San Antonio, look at El Paso, look at Dallas, look at Houston, look at those places, Austin. They are just about totally blue. It's the 30th districts of the world that needs to toe the line and hold on to that concept of capitalism, big business, individual responsibility. And just like you're saying, man, we can do it with our own kids. We don't want to see them end up relying on socialism. No, in the 30th, we are super Americans. We can do that. So we need to be cranking out the lawyers, the doctors, the plumbers, the electricians, the welders. We can do that if we focus on it, because ladies and gentlemen, guess what? We have to. Because if you don't pay now, if you don't push them in that direction now, we're gonna be paying later. They're gonna be on assistance. And also, I'll say this too, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about the 10 Commandments. We want to push them into professions, but there's got to be a moral standard also, so that when they do get out and about, they are not making some of those immoral choices that lead towards financial devastation. So I'm really, really pushing that from a moral standpoint, from a business standpoint. The 30th, we can do this. We can keep our kids, we can keep ourselves being super, super Americans, so we don't have to rely on the government for anything except for killing solar lines.
Are you familiar with Senate Bill 29?
Senate Bill 29.
This is the one that prohibits the use of taxpayer money to lobby. What it is, it specifies in there that it's local governments cannot use taxpayer money. Well, that means that our local officials can't go to Austin on county money. You can't ask an official that is representing a local government to spend their own money to do. And so that was, question was sent to me. I had some sent people that weren't going to be here tonight, and that was one of the questions that they had. Do you support local government, and would you be in favor of that bill?
I would be in favor of that bill. And here's why. It's not fair. It's not fair not to allow the local government level, the county level, to not have those funds to go and lobby, because I'm sorry, that's just how business is done. It's the squeaky wheel that's getting the grease. And as much as I hate, higher taxes and large government, I have to look at it also from the common sense perspective as well. So if they're going to let the feds do it at that level, then yes, absolutely. I think we ought to be able to do that within limits. Right, set limits on it, but I support that, absolutely. I think we should be able to use those funds for lobbying purposes. Yes, sir.
The question that comes to mind about this insurance, the fact that we're along the coast, it obviously does not impact Victoria, but the fact that we have a situation here that I know for a long time the insurance lobby or whatever has tried, they wanted to raise the rates here, windstorm rates along the coast, because they want us to pay for all these others. But when you look at like on North Texas, hailstorms, up in the Panhandle, you got tornadoes. I just want to make sure that very supportive of those coastal counties, because we need to make sure that they don't, I know that this year we're okay.
Right.
But just to make sure we can continue that, we don't get stuck with the bill, because, they're trying to, okay, let's not worry about those counties that are inland.
Right, and I know that you guys recently won a victory as it relates to that, but we have to watch them very carefully and make sure that they are not taking away anything off the table from what you should be eligible for, should you have to use that insurance.
Connie and I went to that insurance meeting, and they tabled it till next August, and there was like 400 people there, so we were there speaking. We don't want a 20% increase.
No, that's too much.
The insurance, the hurricane insurance, the windstorm insurance, only applies to the people that live south of Highway 59. Houston doesn't have to pay it. So we, in just a small area, are definitely being penalized.
I will say this though, as we get back into hurricane season, remember, individual responsibility within the 30th. There are some things that we can do. Number one, exploit the Hurricane Harvey money, build up stronger than we've ever built before to kind of offset some of that impact of high winds. But the other thing is this, if you got dry trees and you got all of that stuff, you need to be trimming that stuff. You need to be getting that stuff out of your yards so that when another hurricane, it's just not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. There are things that we can do as individuals within the 30th to better protect ourselves. We haven't even used that insurance. So I want to encourage business owners, homeowners, etc., do what you can to minimize your risk.
I just want clarification. You mentioned earlier that Cedar Cove and people were there for the hurricane relief. Was Representative Morrison not in attendance, or did she
Well, that particular meeting, she was not at that meeting that I'm referring to, but I'm certainly not suggesting that she was not engaged. I'm only speaking for
I
myself.
just thought that was a little, so I just wanted to ask.
Right, but we had several meetings. And I only said that to say to you, if you make me your representative, I did it. I was involved in Hurricane Harvey recovery, trying to secure funds, trying to help people directly. So I'm not a novice when it comes to what you guys are going to need as it relates to working with the federal government, state government, local government. I have definitely been there and done that. So you need not worry, because that's not what she's doing with Hurricane Harvey. Yes. I work with FEMA, work with the Texas General Land Office representatives. I was part of the long-term recovery group, sitting in on those meetings on a weekly basis, right there, in the mix. And so we had a lot of leadership that did bring in a lot of funding, but you know what, ladies and gentlemen, no one leader is responsible for those billions of dollars that rolled in. And I have seen quite a bit of footage out there. So there's not one leader that can claim complete ownership of bringing those funds in. It really was a team effort at all levels. Yes. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much.